Hello, we're back on the air. As we sit here today, the Moderna vaccine should be released this week to healthcare professionals. And we covered this on several of our shows. We talked about the vaccination process in African Americans. I saw the recent statistic, the poll that shows only 47% of blacks in America think they want to take the vaccine. And I understand. I'm not really running to take the vaccine. And there's a couple of things that disturb me about it, although eventually I'm going to take it. But for the first time that I've in a long time, they've given the companies that manufacture the vaccine absolute immunity. So even if you get sick and die, you can't sue. If you sue, you get bounced out of court. That's bad. And all these drugs that have been manufactured in our country, they've been making protective laws to protect them. But at this time, I think they went a little bit too far. What has been the biggest holdup right now on the stimulus?
I don't know who that is.
The stimulus money that they're trying to pass, the they want to provide immunity for corporations, for example, who intentionally expose their employees to being sick with the virus. We saw the meatpacking company Tyson, where people, thousands of people got sick, some died from the virus, and the manager had bets on the number of people who get sick and die. It was just a crazy thing. So, with this background, the big holdup, the Republicans in the Senate and in Congress want to have blanket protections of corporation who exposes people to the virus, get sick and die. It's shameful, shameful. And so that's what the big holdup is. Meanwhile, so many Americans are sick. So many Americans are in need of rescue. And here at Olivet, though, they've had a food pantry for years. And the other thing is that we tried to augment that with special programs, such as with Thanksgiving. You know, they had a huge food giveaway, turkeys and hams and a lot of food to just hundreds of people. And then we do our adopt a family. This year, uh, we had to alter our approach to our adopt a family. This is our 35th year. Traditionally, uh, we bought bicycles, tablets, clothing, electronic toys, coats, gloves, hats, food. Uh, so we tried to cover the things necessary because we recognize that it is so stressful on so many families this time of year. They struggle to make ends meet, and just for that moment in time, they're trying to make their children happy. And many of these kids don't get gifts the whole year. Their salvation is to get with Christmas, they get a nice gift. And it puts so much stress on the parents. I have them come by the office and I talk to them and they tell me these stories about what they're going to do for the kids for Christmas. And many of them, they said, the heck with these bills. I got to take care of the kids. And it made me recall when I was a kid growing up and, you know, in a big family. And I thought about that. I never thought about Christmas in that vein because we didn't always get gifts, you know, just one of those things. And so I didn't worry about it. We were poor, but didn't think about it. You know, it never a factor, you know, because we were a family and we were together. And that was more important than anything else to me at the time. But today, I see through the lens of the people who are suffering because I understand. I can relate to them. And that's why we have this program each year and with the volunteers. Now, back to the safety issue. You can't go anywhere now, and they are talking about the vaccines. And what is important is that you consult with your own physician. And producer, we can hear you. Okay.
Okay. James Jackson at gmail.com.
Okay. Hey, producer, we'll take the caller and we'll tap.
Pastor James Jackson.
Hey, could you put our call on the line, producer?
How you family doing?
Producer. Imhotep, how you doing today? Hey, producer, could you put Imhotep on the line?
Definitely, your calling on the line. You can hear you.
Okay. Hey, caller. Hello. Okay, producer, could you put the call on the line? We can hear everything you say. Put the call on the line. Hello, caller. You have a question for us today? Hello. Hello. Uh, caller, you have a question for us today? A comment? Okay, we have some technical difficulty. You have to call back. With our producer, apparently lost our callers. But back to where we were. The latest statistics, what I just covered, so majority of blacks in America having hesitation about taking vaccines. And what you have to do is it's an individual decision. Uh, the decision you should make should be with your physician, your family, and remember that we've always taken vaccines for smallpox, measles, the mumps, and all that. And through the vaccination process, we eliminated a lot of the disease process that afflicted so many Americans. And so the question is not whether or not we should take it. We should take it, but the issue whether or not the vaccine that's been produced is safe for the intended use. And that's what my concern is. Uh, without any doubt, I realize that this is a method by which we can cure this terrible disease process that afflicting so many Americans, that killing so many people. You got to remember, we're having more people die now from COVID-19 than we did for any tragedy that's happened in American history. 9/11, we lost 2,900 people that fateful day. We've lost up to 4,100 people per day with COVID. And so when you put this in perspective, you realize that we've never had a disease process. Okay, let's go to the line now. Imhotep, you have a question for us today.
You read about, I think it's either the first pack, I'm trying to pull it again, that shielded companies like Pfizer and Moderna from vaccines if you had adverse effects. General public use, no problem. You can't sue. You can get some nominal compensation if you have liver reactions from the injection, but they've only paid out very few cases with this, I think it's called vaccine injury compensation fund, something like that. So I got public not aware of that, but there's recourse if you do have some problems, and it's probably something you need to push. And then number two, what was your opinion of those black gentlemen? I think one in Michigan, one in Louisiana this week, let out of prison for the one in Michigan completely lied on the eyewitness. That whole case is terrible. I heard about that. Lied on state burn, and he wasn't even there. She lied. And then the one about the brother in Louisiana, who had a couple of minor offenses before that, was $20 bag of weed. They gave 40 years in prison. He ended up in 12 when he finally got out. Is there any headway from the Attorney General, legislative wise? I know Joe Biden is getting pressure about these types of things. I know that the House did pass decriminalization marijuana, but just got to be some correction period on these adjustments. I know there's some state crimes, but I mean, you've seen more headway. There's two cases. I know we read tons of them. That's just terrible. Both of these. So, you know, if they can get out.
Well, a couple of things. First, Imotech, under 42 U.S. Code, Section 300AA-22, the code section say no vaccine manufacturer shall be liable in a civil action for damage arising from a vaccine-related injury or death. So the Claims Act is a separate process that has not resulted in any significant recovery for anybody that I know about. So ordinarily, when a product is manufactured, such as you name it, Johnson Johnson, the big thing we have now is uh, a Roundup, but before that we had the talcum powder, and uh, we've had all type of medication that, as a lawyer, we could sue for advertisement liability once they get FDA approval. We don't sue them for the manufacturing process. We sue them for the advertisement where they don't properly disclose the side effect. And a lot of these, every medication has some side effect, but they must disclose it to you. Now, but the second part about that is that uh, Imhotep, you raised some fascinating questions that are so relevant. We have so many African Americans who are wrongly convicted, and even in our state, I've seen it firsthand. In certain jurisdiction, uh, the public defender would told these young men that were I thought was innocent that they couldn't prove a case, but he say in this city, a black man will be found guilty by a jury in 30 minutes, regardless. I said, wow, it's a powerful statement. And so that was troublesome to me. And so when you see these cases that are in other parts of the country, that just counter our justice system. Our justice system, we're trying to make justice blind and equal. But the truth of the matter is that justice in America still is unequal. The rich and the powerful do have a big advantage, the well connected. We see now, watching our local U.S. Attorney's Office, for example, our celebrated U.S. Attorney is going to a private law firm. Well, he's going to represent white collar criminals. And I was thinking to myself, that's a big advantage. You have the guy who supervised all these lawyers now on the other side. I think that you know the process, you know the talent there, and that give them a big advantage. But the average citizen could not afford the millions of dollars in fees for that type of representation. So the net result is that you have an unequal system of justice, and there's no way around it. Even in our trial court, our local prosecutors, Ryan Mears, is doing an outstanding job. And Ryan, he gets it. What he's trying to do is come up with a sentence integrity unit. So he, on his own, decided that, I want to make sure that our minority citizens in Indianapolis are treated the same way as everybody else. So he's investigating all their cases to try to find out whether or not the sentences imposed on people in the African American community or Latino, for example, was treated the same as their counterparts. So if two people commit the same crime, if they had a possession of drugs, a certain amount, and they each should get the same type of sentence. And that's, the sentence integrity unit that he's formulating. So to answer Imhotep's question, you see these injustices all over the country, but here, luckily, we have somebody trying to address those issues. And so we'll go to the next caller, caller number 2. Sherry, you have a question for us today.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, I hear your babies in the background.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead. You have a question or comment for us today.
Thank you for having me, Attorney Lee. I got a two-part question. One of the questions, the first question is about Century 21 school college fund. I just found out I have a child here and graduating from one of the Indianapolis high schools. She has been vigilantly working, doing the procedures to Century 21 scholarship funding, okay? Well, I just found out one of the schools that we are trying, she would like to go to a HBC school. And now I'm finding out she did all these criteria to keep her requirements for Century 21, but that's her because it is an HBC school. So my first question to you is that part of discrimination? Because my child is one of black, the school is a black school she wants to go to, but she's also, I want you to understand, has applied to other schools that are not HBC schools. Now, there are more qualifications for her. So that was question number one. My second question is, when it comes to the Carnegie Mash money, I have a patient who is Cuban, who has, hello?
Go ahead, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, who has lost their statute of limitation. This happened in 2012. The patient now is not had any problems until now, but they have in between each one of these lawsuits have been having complications. But now that I have really looked over the statute of limitation I have the records of this patient to where it said it was in 2012, I'm assuming that statute went past. But he's still having problems since COVID-19. They are literally not attending to his medical issues because of the pandemic in the hospital. So my question to you, is there any more things he can do because he's really having a lot of more problems with this?
Yes, yeah,
but I'm still pulling records. I just want to know, does he have any other things that he can fight?
Yeah, let me tell you, in Indiana, the process.
Thanks for having me. And then my third comment is, Mr. Lee, as a person of your criteria, being an attorney in the state of Indianapolis and other states, helping other attorneys, being the super lawyer you are, have you ever thought about going more into the political realm? I do feel like I wouldn't be a person to back you because of the strength that you will move outside the box to being correct. And just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the compliment. Let's talk about first the Century 21. I went on their website when you were talking, and I don't know a lot about the program. That's kind of outside of my practice, as you might suspect. But it seemed like that program was designed to pay for Indiana schools. And unfortunately, Indiana does not have, to my knowledge, an HBCU. Martin University, schools that I support, they're not an HBCU. I think the historical black college and universities are the one that's been in existence for, I think, more than 60 years. And so I don't think Martin University meet that criteria. And that's probably one of the reasons why you cannot get that. The second issue had to do with the hernia mass. Indiana has a 10-year statute of repose, right? So the 2012 insertion of the product, he's still within the statute of limitation. We filed some of those claims. They've been moved. I think our cases are somewhere in Georgia. They got moved by venue, and he could probably still file a claim in that court. And those cases probably going to be pending for at least another 3 to 4 years minimum. They've set aside some funding on some of those cases, and some have been settled, but they're still pending. So it's not too late for him to file for those based on what you gave me. So just keep that in mind. And so they could call the office and we could have them submit their claim form. And because our cases got all venue out of Indiana to somewhere in Georgia, one of the federal courts in Georgia. I can't remember the court that they're at. But then all of these cases, the products cases, except for the hip cases, have all been moved out to other states. The talcum powder cases, they were moved to New Jersey. We'll be following some more of the Roundup cases, and some was in California. They're in different parts of the country. So what happened is when you file these lawsuits, the lawyers come in, they move them to federal court, and then they do an automatic transfer to the multi-district litigation. And so all these cases are being consolidated in different courts in the country. But that's not a bad thing, because what happened is that our state is one of the more conservative jurisdictions in the country. Like, I've done cases in other states, and one of the states that I really loved was down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I mean, it was just a wonderful place to try a case. You got really good jury panels, and so you get really good verdicts, and they're, you found highly educated jurors who actually care about folks. And I thought that was important when I had cases down in Fort Lauderdale. There's other jurisdictions that defense lawyers call judicial hellhole. And there's one in like East St. Louis, Missouri. They hate that because that's probably one of the top jury verdict places in the world. And used to be Jackson, Mississippi, but they went in and put in special laws. So there are different parts. But Indianapolis, we are more of a moderate to conservative jurisdiction, but we get some good verdicts here also. So it depends on, even though we're in a pandemic, what's going to be paramount is that whenever this pandemic is over, you get that subpoena to appear for jury duty. You got to make sure you show up. Now, having said that, let's take one last caller. Caller, you have a question for us?
Yeah, David, I want to go ahead. I thank you for raising the point about the absolute immunity for these vaccines. And also, I'd like to mention those are vital statistics for the United States for 2018 and 2019. The death rate was 10.5% in both those years. And I don't know whether that was due to the opioid crisis or what it was, but 10.5% of our population died in those years, and that amounts to about 3,500,000 people. So I don't know what they're doing with the COVID deal, but we did not shut the fast food places down and the soft drink companies and the other fat producing companies, because that was 40% of the deaths that occurred due to heart failure. So I just don't know what's going on with this bill and think that something is not right, and it never happened before, where a group of people have destroyed their lifestyle and destroyed their whole country over 300,000 deaths. I mean, you cannot stop people from dying. Nobody can save your life. They cannot do it. In Australia, they had the lockdown. Somebody tried to escape from the place where they were being quarantined, and they quarantined the whole neighborhood, and several people died behind that. I think about 30 or 40 people died, and the official said, we don't apologize for saving lives. That's what they said.
So you think that, hey Larry, you saying that you don't believe that people dying because of COVID? You believe that COVID is causing all these people to die. What's your position? I didn't understand.
My position is that we are overblowing this whole thing because 3.5 million people died in 2019, right? 10.5 million. So we have what 200, 300 people, 1,000 people died of some suspicious disease.
Hey, well, hold a second, Larry. Larry,
Our economy down, Nate.
hey, Larry, hold on 1 second. Let me give you the correct site. Go to the CDC site, and they keep a mortality table. I do a lot of wrongful death cases. In
Right.
2018, there were not 10 million. There were 2,839,205 people died in 2018. Now the Center for
They shut the country down.
no, wait a second. Let me tell you about this. The leading cause of death would have been like heart failure and things like that, right? So we have accident, we have homicide, but we have a lot of heart failures and things like that. We had heart disease, cancer. We still have people dying of those things too, Larry. And let me tell you the difference. If you think that the death certificates are fake, here's one thing I encourage you to do. Go by the Marion County Coroner's office and look at their lot. They got 4 refrigerated trucks on their lot with dead bodies. In every major city in America, they have a refrigerated truck. They never had that in the history of this country. So they're processing so many dead bodies now that they have to have a refrigerated truck, and it get worse. I went by there.
Because they have homeless people dying every day, unnoticed, and their body has to be claimed. So the coroner's naturally going to get those. But I feel like, Nate, that this country is being destroyed over politics and also over people who have evil thoughts to transfer property. If you don't pay your property taxes, Nate, and you go in front of a judge, the judge is not going to listen to anything you say, right? If you get evicted and you don't pay your rent, the judge is not going to take COVID as an answer. He's going to say you got 72 hours. So I think all this is just something to make the poor people more poor and miserable, and also to cut into the middle class and bring them down also. So I don't know what's going on, but we're going to find out soon.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Now, for the people that are interested, the Center for Disease Control keep mortality tables in America. They've been around for about 100 years now, but it gives you accurate statistics to tell you how people die in America, and so you can look at that each year. Now, what we're seeing now, these COVID deaths are real. So we've got 300 and some odd thousand. So in a typical year, we might have 2.8 million people die, and this year we can probably end up with like 3.2 million. So it's not that COVID going to result in people still dying of heart attack, liver disease, and things like that. But COVID does add to the death rate statistically about 12 to 13% based upon statistical averages. Okay, so we'd like to thank each and every one of you for calling in today. And I'd like to wish all our listening Merry Christmas. We'll be back on the air again on January 8th. And also, I'd like to thank all our volunteers. And there are too numerous to name on the air, but all the people that have helped us out for this great day to our annual adoptive family. Well, I also like to thank each and every one of you that support our law firm for the last 39 years. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the referrals. Thank you for the kind words. And most of all, thank you for just being a friend. So having said that, may God bless and keep you. Stay safe, wear your mask, and we'll talk again in January 2021. Thank you, and may God bless you.